So welcome back, and at least I should say I'm coming back in. This is the second part of the video after the watercolor has dried, and I'm getting ready to start inking the watercolor. What I'm using here is Noodler's Heart of Darkness. It's considered a, quote, bulletproof ink, which when they say that means it's practically waterproof. My experience has been never trust an ink even if it says it's waterproof. What I'm using is this is a fountain pen of mine. It's a Pilot fountain pen, and it's one of the ones I love to use for this type of fine lining when doing artwork. I have been using a different marker, which you've seen at other times quite often, because that one, when it dries, I can paint over it and not have any problems. That's what you often see in the color swatches. But in all honesty, I've been really happy with how this character turned out. It seemed a very relatable action to me to sit and have a pipe and relax. And I was thinking about that when I was doing this art piece, that too often, you know, especially in our society today, we focus on working and we focus on doing something, always being busy. And sometimes we need to remember to not be busy, to just sit. Let the situation be. It doesn't have to be anything more than enjoyment. And that's what this piece, this little character reminds me to do, is to take some time to sit and enjoy myself. If you keep working, keep pushing, doing all that stuff all the time, the only people you end up hurting are yourself and your family. And, you know, that's an important lesson for all of us to remember. We can't continue to work ourselves to death for not much, really. You know, we can talk about having things and doing things and all sorts of stuff like that. And those things are important. I don't want to downplay the importance of being able to afford things. In fact, the fact of the matter is, I wouldn't be able to do this artwork if I couldn't afford to get the equipment that I needed. And that's just part of the way our culture and society is. But there is something to that idea when it takes over our lives. It takes over to the point where we can't find a few moments of simple enjoyment. And it reminds me, you know, and this kind of always ties back religiously for me, is Jesus' teaching, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And in Jesus' context, he was talking about adding religious burdens to people. But I think what my experience has been, while that does happen, it's often our society that continues to place these burdens on us. Unfortunately, I've encountered so many people in my life who are proud that they work non-stop. And then unfortunately what often happens is when they do stop, they die because they don't feel like they have something to live for. And that's not what we are created to be. That's not who we are intended to be. And I'm glad I can use my art to kind of show you what I mean by that. And I do put a lot of work and effort into the art piece itself, into the creation of these videos, but that is also effort that I enjoy, effort that means something to me because of what I want to share. And I'm very happy to share that. So how this little guy turned out is just, to me, it was pretty mind-boggling, considering I am not a character drawer, right? And I've said that and been very open about that. And I'm finding, because at the point I'm doing the audio for this video, I've done a couple other gnome pictures, that this character is starting to take on a life of his own in how I view him and what's going on. And I'm really just enjoying that process of thinking of what the story might be. So, this gnome he's at the end of his workday. He is sitting down and relaxing, and he's not thinking about anything but his pipe. And the reason I know that is, I like to occasionally have a pipe myself, and, sitting and just working on that little coal, that little fire, is a process that is really enjoyable. If the best similarity I can think of, if you're one of those people who like to sit in front of a fire, that act of tending the fire, most guys can recognize this. It's kind of a mindless but involving act that we just get caught up in and we get focused on. And that action of we're going to have to put wood on the fire, and it's dying down in this spot, it needs a little more here, a little more there. Some people would call that constant action, but I don't. It's kind of a mindless, repetitive nature of the action that enables your mind to free up, and that's what I believe this little gnome guy is doing with his pipe right at that moment. He's not thinking about the work of the day. He's just thinking about that moment and enjoying that moment, sitting there. I believe he's sitting in the sunshine. It's a cloudless day, and just sitting there and enjoying himself. So the question becomes, how do you enjoy yourself? This is the ideal scene for me, but it may not be an ideal scene for you. So what might you do to make that relaxation happen? Now, you notice I just hopped up here. I'm in mid-thought on those things. But one problem with fountain pens and fountain pen ink, sometimes it gets dried up in the nib. And that's the little silver part on the end. And I've found it often happens working with watercolors that because you already have something down on the paper, it kind of clogs up a little bit. So I had to run to the sink and just dip it in a little bit of water, as you can see on my hand there, just to get that nib flowing again so that it would work easily and I'm not skipping or creating weird lines. So if relaxation is part of the key of who we are and part of how we are to interact with our world, and I want to encourage you to think about that. So if you are one of those that have gotten brave and decided to pick up some watercolors since watching my videos, or you were always thinking about it and then thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And quite frankly, I'd be very proud if that is what happened. It's easy to get frustrated doing something that you intend to do for relaxation, but it doesn't come out the way you want it to. And believe me, I know. I get frustrated with painting far more often than I care to admit. And I have to walk away from it and go, okay, I'll come back to this another day. But sometimes even that frustration can be relaxing. Our minds need a puzzle to work on and something to figure out. And if this is part of what is relaxing to you, then take advantage of it. If it's not, don't be ashamed. Move on to something else. If just watching the video is relaxing for you, then great. Enjoy that. So as we're coming to the close here, I'm gonna be quiet for a little bit, but I want to remind you that I will have prints of this available for sale. It will be up on my Redbubble shop, but you can also contact me directly for prints. I can do very high quality prints from here at home, and actually I'm selling some of them up in Jerome. I'm not selling my gnomes. I'm selling some of my landscapes and other things up there. So feel free to contact me for that, or I can be contacted for commissions. I have done a few of those by this point, and they are uniquely challenging for me because I want to do a really good job, and so I really work hard at those things. But I am available for those types of situations. So I hope you enjoy finishing up this video and enjoy the finished product as I have. Hope to see you back sometime in the future.